You get to relive one moment in your life. What is it? In the kitchen of the house I grew up in on a cold winter's morning, sitting on my mom's warm lap wrapped in a blanket, I'm about 4 years old. The bright warm rays of sun shining directly on us, a total sense of comfort and love. The last time I saw my uncle alive, he was genuinely my best friend, and I never got to say goodbye. I wish I would have hugged him and told him how much I loved him and how much he meant to me when I had the chance. The first day I got my cat Spaz, got him in Tennessee from a friend's litter and drove to Florida for school. He BA'd for the whole ride. I thought he would hate me and felt so bad. We get to Orlando and had to get a hotel room, one available in town. No pets. Right next to the front desk. I go to the car and had a talk with Spaz. Asked him for 3 minutes of silence or we'd be sleeping in the car he hated. This cat looks me in the eyes, lays down, and if he had a watch, would have set a timer for 2:59. Buried the carrier in blankets and walked right on in. Silent. Let him out of the cage in the room. Gave him a litter box and food. And the next moment specifically is what I'm referencing. He looks at both. Looks at me, comes over and starts purring and rubbing on me. I knew right then that I met my brother. 17 years with him. He got pseudo internet famous, beat diabetes for 7 years, and was my rock. I miss him daily. Been almost a year now, but this memory always makes me smile when I think of him. Walking with the love of my life in the woods at night point, while being unable to really see. So I got to trust him fully and got to extra appreciate the touch of his hand and the sound of his voice more. Or that one moment pulled off the side of the road with the woods around and a bunch of stars above and we were so close and it felt intimate and amazing. I want to relive those and also make more moments with him. One evening with a significant other from several years ago. Sadly, I'm realizing now it was almost 10 years ago. It was sort of rainy or drizzly, and we stayed at her apartment making dinner. I don't even remember all of it, but I do remember the cornbread and wine. I think any of those moments with her in general, but that one stands out in particular. I think my moment would be like this too. One Saturday in high school, when the weather was just turning into fall, hazy with heat, but a cool breeze blowing. I was with my friends being busy all morning. Can't even remember with what, but we went to one house afterwards and all just crashed on the couches and floor and lazed like puppies all over one another. We were all drifting in and out of sleep, whispering softly to each other, and it was just a happy moment when nothing hurt and everything felt good. Nothing jumps out as amazing, but it was just a moment of perfect existence with people I loved. If I get to change things, I don't buy my first house. It wound up being a financial disaster. If I just get to enjoy it exactly the same again, my high school graduation party, I get to feel huge and healthy and see my whole family all together in one place, eating my favorite food. At that moment my parents were still married and my grandfathers were still alive and conversational. I'd like to know that feeling again. The moment before I had to choose, before going to get a burger to see my grandmother or to go see her directly, so I could tell her I got into college, before she had another stroke. It's still my deepest regret till this day as she was still conversable, all over a refine Burger King Whopper. That was a few years ago. Wish I worked out more too, so I could have been the one to help carry her off to the grave. I honestly would just pick a random time I was with my dad, a moment I probably took for granted the first time around, maybe just playing basketball together. I'd give anything to have one of those ordinary moments back again. I would go back to spring break of my freshman year of college and enjoy a meal with my grandparents and give them a long, solid hug. It was the last time I saw them together as my grandfather passed away weeks later. My dad tucking me into bed, reading me a story, and giving me a hug. He died when I was too young to remember anything of him, except the memory of sitting on his bed in ICU before he died. Now I'm sad. The day before my best friend took her life and she asked me to have lunch with her, and I told her tomorrow. There wasn't a tomorrow, and I spent my lunch looking for her. I met that girl online. We ended up talking every day for hours and hours and hours, and we got really close as time passed by. Problem was she lived on the other side of the country. After a while I finally decided to fly out to see her. She was the most beautiful, funny, charismatic woman I've ever met. Sex with her was pure ecstasy. To this day the best sex I've ever had, and was the happiest I've been in a long time. We spent 3 days together that were just nothing short of magical for me. Shortly after my visit and returning home she met somebody and we slowly faded, and finally to have never spoke again. I'd give anything to relive those 3 days with her again. I met my wife online when we were kids 11 and 12, way back in 1999. We grew up together, albeit 700 miles apart, and were best friends for years. In the midst of getting older, we fell out of contact for a bit, while other things got in the way: romantic interests, school, jobs, etc. We found each other again, and picked up right where we left off. She is and has always been my other half, my missing puzzle piece. It felt right. Since we were old enough, we decided to finally meet in person. I flew to her home state from mine. The whole day was filled with excitement and anticipation. I had never flown before, but if there was anyone I would ever face my fears for, it's her. I'll never forget the range of emotions I felt, waiting on the escalator going up to baggage claim, where she was waiting. Excitement to finally be able to be with her, to touch her, to see her smile. Fear that it was some 40-year-old greasy dude playing the long con. Anticipation: did I remember deodorant? Do I look stupid? What if she didn't show up? And when I crested over the top of the stairs, it was like time slowed down. It was like the lights went out and a spotlight shone on her alone. There she was. It's real now. I don't even remember what I did. Smiled, I'm sure. Damn near ran to her. I didn't even think about it once I saw her. Nothing else mattered. We embraced. I picked her up and swirled her around like it was a Disney movie. Her touch, her scent, her smile, her warmth. She was radiant. She was everything I imagined and more. We have been inseparable since, with 13 years of marriage, 3 kids, and a decade and a half of wonderful memories together. I already constantly relive that moment in my head, when we first met in person, but to actually go back and feel those feelings again would be surreal. I can think of so many moments I cherished in my life. My brother and I running wild on my granddad's farm, my dad and I playing catch, my sister and I following our pap up the county road watching for hawks swatting at horseflies, my grandmother's breakfasts on either side, holidays, my mom's hands playing the violin, my first roller coaster with my grandmother, my dad being prone to motion sickness and my mother unable to ride from chronic neck problems, my best friend from childhood, my aunt building puzzles and putting together toys for us, my parents' house, my uncle's house with the wood stove and old train set around a Christmas tree, my stepfather taking me to see Jurassic Park opening weekend in Long Island visiting his family for the first time, his mother who sent us a wooden chess set when I was 10 that I still have, his brothers, the artist, the writer, the accountant, each hilarious and kind to us. His one brother's face when my brother and sister attended our stepfather's wedding to his second wife, my grandmother's stuffed cabbage and the time she made a Christmas tree-shaped cake on Valentine's Day and we all howled laughing. A New Year's Eve with her demented sister Mary just a few months before the Alzheimer's took her. A different New Year's with a girl I loved, but didn't where we both gave up our virginity. My friends and my brother and myself having all the typical teenage boy stupid risky behavior. A girl I loved who broke my heart. A girl who loved me whose heart I broke. A time I got so drunk with a good friend and we were both so low the bottom seemed rushing up to meet us both as we fought like idiots in the steer. The first time I kissed my wife. The day I knew my brother had grown past his madness. My sister's wedding. The last time I saw my third/adopted and last living grandmother. The time my wife and our 2 friends drove 16 hours to the Super Bowl and our team won in incredible fashion and we knew it was a one-time chance where everything aligned to go. And it was the best game ever. The time we saw the guy with the lizard in Key West and then 6 years later saw the same guy with a parrot in Lake Tux and 6 years later a baseball game with my brother and stepdad when he turned 60. My sister-in-law offering me a joint at a family wedding. Playing chess with my brother-in-law and losing to him for the first time and knowing he'd grown up. My wife and I reconciling and saving our marriage even when it seemed ruined. The bonfires we have in our yard sometimes. The meals she's made me. The love we've shared. The sadness we've helped each other through. Trips we've taken. Days just wasted in the sun or a hotel room. Driven and movies. Dinners out. Naps. The way we always kiss at the garage door, no matter what. A daily ritual of our love, no matter the weather, or whether we might be mad at the other. A sandwich, a plastic quart of ice water on a hot day. I keep it all. I want to remember it always, everyone, everything, if I can. But I'm getting older. It's not always as crystal clear as it was. I try not to embellish or adjust. I try to keep it all in line. But I'm less and less sure the line makes any damned sense. A moment isn't much to try and relive if you're paying attention to the moment.